All right. I just finished filming an overly long fashion video about my hunter's look for Arc 3.0 because I'm like, there's nothing going on today. I'm just going to do this. And then right after I finished, I saw 10 minutes ago, they just posted the giant Arc 3.0 reveal post. So obviously, I am shifting my plans to talk about that instead. And I have not looked at this yet. I just literally got off recording and looked at Twitter, and now I am back doing this again. So they hinted at this before that they were going to actually release Arc 3.0 info ahead of the season, unlike Solar 3.0. I think they took the feedback that was nobody really liked that or saw the purpose of that. So I am glad that we are hearing about Arc 3.0, at least to some extent here. So let's get into it. Bring the Thunder, inside Arc 3.0. This does not have a specific author attached to it. Like the inevitable lightning that follows storm clouds, Arc 3.0's time has finally arrived. In 2022, the original trio of elemental subclasses that power Guardians in Destiny 2 have been undergoing a major overhaul. Void was the first subclass to get the 3.0 treatment. With the launch of the Witch Queen expansion, Season of the Haunted welcomed Solar 3.0, and soon it will be time for Arc wielders to receive their upgrades. The Destiny 2 development team has been hard at work on the subclass revamp, making sure that the new version of Arc subclass brings the thunder. Having led subclass redesigns with Void and Solar, the team has spent a great deal of time zeroing in on the essence of what a subclass revamp is all about, making sure that every aspect of gameplay and every ability feature fits into the player fantasy. To get there, it all starts with inspiration. Arc is just go fast and hit stuff, said Destiny designer Sam Dunn when asked about the core fantasy that powered the Arc 3.0 revamp. We call it the Hold W class. Everything is built around moving forward and enabling aggression and those abilities. That sounds awesome. Powering that high-speed, high-impact goal, one of the prime inspirations for Arc 3.0 was the 2009 action movie Crank 2 High Voltage. Okay. Okay. They're going to explain it. The madcap action flick stars Jason Statham as an ex-hitman who has his heart stolen and replaced with a battery. To stay alive, Statham must keep his body electrically charged in increasingly outrageous ways. It's nonstop, it's relentless, and it's a great place to start for the fantasy the team wanted to achieve. Namely, ridiculous closing speed and maximum impact upon arrival. I assume you won't randomly die if you don't get a charge during Arc 3.0 usage, but I guess we'll see. We have a lot of ideas about, you get this buff, and then, much like Jason Statham's heart, you need to keep it ticking by staying in the fight. Okay, so you're keeping your buffs up, said Destiny designer Mike Humble. As the design evolved, we strayed a bit from that because it's hard to achieve that in gameplay of Destiny when you're deleting 75 monsters in a room and then running through a hallway. But that was the emotional fantasy we wanted to go for, very much like living on the edge. Those Guardians who have spent some time with the revamped versions of Void or Solar, or with Stasis for that matter, know the basics of where to begin with Arc 3.0. As with those other subclass options, Arc 3.0 would give players more flexibility over customizing their Guardians' powers to suit their playstyle through the introductions of Aspect and Fragments. In addition, new and returning class and melee abilities have been built or refactored for the modern Destiny 2 sandbox, making the subclass more powerful than ever. I'd say Arc has needed the most help out of anything, so we'll see how that plays out. Lighting up new abilities. Before we dive into class-specific Arc abilities, let's talk about the buffs and debuffs that are key to the Arc 3.0 experience. First up is the new buff, Amplified, which is key to the Arc 3.0 experience. An Amplified Guardian is faster, both in terms of movement speed and in terms of their weapon handling. I knew they were going to buff handling. And more agile, able to perform long slides that can function as a devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Yeah, I don't like sliding, setting up attack. I don't like slide into melee attacks, but we'll see. Unlike other damage type buffs, Void's, Invisibilities, or Solar's Radiant, players don't need to equip any specific aspects or fragments to become amplified. By default, all Arc subclasses become amplified after rapidly defeating targets with any Arc damage, and equipped aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become or benefit from being amplified. Oh, that's cool. After sprinting for a few seconds, an Amplified Guardian will gain another boost in speed, as designer Mike Humboldt put it, basically as fast as we can make our sprint animation go, gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff and enabling an even longer slide ability. Imagine full-on Metroid speed booster mode, only Samus is now wielding Gjallarhorn. Okay. Even if a player is no longer amplified, as long as they keep sprinting, the speed booster buff will stay active. In development, Speed Booster probably took the longest for me to get on board with, in that you were already moving faster to begin with. said Humboldt when asked about the process of developing and refining the verbs for Arc 3.0. Boy, what is this going to do to Crucible? I am very curious to see how that plays out. Adding PvE damage resistance to Speed Booster to cement it as a strong gap-closing tool and seeing it being used to move from one cover to the next in playtesting really brought it together for me. You start sprinting and then you hear this audio swell to come up and you're like a jet engine rocketing around the arena. It's awesome. That does sound awesome. On the debuff side, Arc 3.0 is bringing two to the party, Blind and Jolt. Yeah, I thought they'd do Blind. Blinded opponents in PvE won't be able to see it naturally and will also be disoriented and unable to fire their weapon. So it's kind of like suppressed. That sounds very suppressed. In PvP, blinded opponents will have their screen whited out and their HUD removed for a short period of time, alongside a ringing audio effect simulating the ringing in the ears after flashbang explodes. Sure, that will be non-controversial. Okay. Jolted opponents who are damaged will periodically send slivers of chain lightning out to nearby enemies, damaging them in the process. Okay. Arc 3.0 also democratizes Ionic Traces, which are only available to Middle 2 Warlocks. Yeah, I knew they were going to use Ionic Traces. Now available to all, traces are objects that when collected will add energy to all your abilities. Now that you're familiar with the basics, let's jump to the classes themselves and see how they may be making the most of Arc 3.0. Okay, so interestingly, there is no inherent chain lightning ability in here. Like Jolt will send slivers of lightning out, but there's no like chain lightning specific thing, which is interesting. A hunter dashing forward, crackling with the power of arc lightning is a sight that is sure to strike fear in the heart of any enemy. As with previous subclass revamps, the team had definite images in mind when considering what the new arc should feel like in combat. For Hunter, the team imagined the graceful warrior monk giving the hunter the ability to get in close quarters quickly and effectively make a mess of their opponents in the process. For Hunters, we wanted to reward staying in close and being safe when you're in close quarters with an enemy, which is very difficult to do in a lot of our content, said Humboldt. We wanted to give them tools to stay alive while they either closed the gap or were in a melee combo. Interesting. That came primarily in the form of giving them crowd control tools. To that end, Hunter's Arc Staff Super is returning. With Arc Staff, Hunters will be able to block and deflect projectiles with the press of a button, as well as perform an armored dodge where, upon dodging, the Hunter is more resistant to incoming damage. So yes, Arc Staff is still there. But one super didn't seem like enough to the team, thus the introduction of a brand new Arc-themed super, the Gathering Storm. Excellent. I think everybody was hoping and praying that Hunter's got a second Arc Super. And here it is. Thank the Lord. Here, the Hunter leaps into the air, hurling their staff into the ground or into an unlucky enemy like a spear. Yup, that's what I predicted. A lot of people predicted spear throwing and turning it into a Tesla coil. Yup, upon impact, the staff emits a damaging burst that jolts nearby enemies. Soon after, a giant bolt of lightning strikes the staff and overcharges it, creating a large damage zone around it for several seconds. Well overcharged, the staff sounds out arc lightning damage to any enemies that move near it. That is awesome. Cannot wait to see that in action. They are clearly not showing it here. I have to believe that will be in the showcase, at least with Season 18 stuff they show. On the melee side, the team kept the Hunter's combination blow ability, feeling like it was right in line with the Graceful Warrior fantasy that they were going for. So they are still doing, there's no projectile melee here. Kills with combination blow will refund dodge energy, increase melee damage, and restore a small amount of health. Oh, so we can use Liar's Handshake still then. Alright, I just did a whole fashion video where I was like, I don't know how Liar's Handshake is going to be. So I did not use that. Allowing skilled hunters to chain their dodges and melee attacks into balletic bursts of beautiful fury. In addition, the disorienting blow melee returns. Okay, so all the melees are the same. Blinding opponents with a devastating palm attack will now amplifying Hunter along the way. Alright, well, so they've been buffed at least. Hunter will be able to choose from 3 arc aspects to customize their tactical style. Flow state, defeating a jolted opponent causes you to become amplified. When amplified, the Hunter's dodge will recharge faster and make you more resistant to damage, and you have quicker reload times. Tempest Strike allows the Hunter to perform sliding melee that launches an arc wave along the ground. Yeah, that's the thing we have. Dealing significant damage and jolting enemies in its path. Lethal Current. After dodging, the Hunter's melee lunge range is increased, and their next melee attack jolts the target and creates a lightning damage aftershock. When used with the Arc Staff Super, after dodging, the Hunter's next staff light attack hits twice. In addition, hitting a jolted enemy with a melee attack will blind them. Okay. Finally, and of particular note, Arc 3.0 will bring back the Blink movement mode for Arc Hunters. In fact, the Blink ability will also include a baseline buff for any class that has access to it. Looking at you, Void Warlocks. Blink hasn't really been touched since Destiny 2's release. It never quite reached the heights of its previous reign of terror, Humboldt said. We felt this was a good time to walk a few of the tuning changes back a little bit and bring Blink's potency at baseline without needing an exotic equipped. In practical terms, that means an increased travel distance and reworked recharge model for the ability that will keep it fresh while maintaining its effectiveness. Alright, so we have blinding, super speed, blink hunters coming to Crucible. Let's see how that goes. Warlock. Here's my quote-unquote main. Player fantasies don't come any more vivid than what the team had in mind for 3.0 Warlocks. Two separate images were in mind, the Lightning Shaman and Emperor Palpatine in full Lightning Fingers mode while turning Luke Skywalker into burnt toast. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of already like that. We wanted the player to feel like they were channeling the power of the storm through their bodies, said Dunn. Controlling the storm, controlling lightning like an elemental conduit. Two supers will be available for Warlocks. Chaos Reach, where players shoot a concentrated beam of arc energy to decimate opponents, and Storm Trance, which is more akin to the image of Palpatine floating around the world, firing electricity from their fingers. The super combines both the landfall behavior from bottom tier arc and the ionic blink behavior from top tree. Yeah, I figured they'd merge all those together. Warlocks will have two melees, both utilizing the power of lightning. The ball lightning melee will send out a floating ball of arc energy that detonates, zapping enemies from above. Chain lightning will send arcs of lightning to strike and jolt the primary target, and chain damage to surrounding enemies in the process. That's kind of those are the two that exist now, more or less, or two of those exist now. The Warlock's whole thing is that being amplified modifies their abilities, it powers them up. Oh, okay. For ball lightning, if you're amplified, the arc ball will fly out and zap enemies 3 times instead of the normal 1 time, so you can get more damage out of it. Oh, that's cool. For chain lightning, it chains between more targets. More specifically, while normal chain lightning creates a single set of chains that bounce between a set number of targets, when amplified, the ability creates 2 sets of chains and can potentially jump to twice the number of enemies. 3 aspects will be available for Warlocks. Arc Soul. The Warlock has a rift to create an Arc Soul that will assist the player in battle. Allies who pass through the rift will also earn an Arc Soul. The rift charges faster when allies are near. When amplified, any Arc Soul you have gain is supercharged, increasing its rate of fire. Lightning Surge. The Warlock activates their melee when sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward, calling down a field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. Really gotta see what that looks like. Electrostatic Mind. Arc ability kills and kills on Arc debuffed enemies create ionic traces. When you collect any ionic trace, you become amplified. Yep, that sounds pretty cool to me. I really like this idea of just constantly keeping up the buff Jason Statham style. That sounds cool, and how it like really affects your abilities. Titan. Titans haven't traditionally been known as paragons of mobility, but with R 3.0, the team is shaking things up. The team had a couple of inspirations in mind for the Titan Arc revamp. The lead with your fists bare knuckle brawler and the freight train. You don't get to move the Arc train, Humboldt said, they move you. The Arc Titan's ultimate goal is to punch you in the face, and so a lot of what we did for Arc Titan was try to figure out how we facilitate fist-to-face contact as much as possible. That desire to punch all things manifests in a couple devastating supers that are returning for Arc 3.0, Fist of Havoc and Thunder Crash. While the latter is practically unchanged from before, Fist of Havoc now has an adjusted slam radius that's halfway between top and bottom path, and the ground slam leaves a damaging field in its wake, while slamming from the air causes AoE effect. Yeah, so they merged all the things again. In the case of Thunder Crash, uncoupling a subclass's abilities from the old subclass Diamond will result in some substantial buffs, depending on how players use it. It's one of the intrinsic advantages that the new subclass 3.0 system brings to Destiny. When you start pairing them with different things, even though nothing changed but the actual ability, they can end up getting significantly stronger as a result, because now they aren't locked into the canned set of perks that surround them, Humboldt said. Thunder Crash is a great example of that. One of the biggest changes coming to Arc Titan is the new Thruster class ability. By double tapping a button, the Titan bursts in their throttle direction at speed, performing a quick first-person evade comparable in distance to a Hunter dodge. Arc is a damage type that is about mobility, so if we're going to add a mobility boost anywhere for Titan, who's going to be here, said Humboldt. So everyone who chased Kevin Yanis off Twitter for frickin' air dodge, there you go. Here's your air dodge, which did not need an exotic. So everyone go apologize to Kevin. For melee attacks, Titans will retain the Seismic Strike shoulder charge, which blinds enemies. Performing a Seismic Strike while amplified will increase the radius of the blind, and the blinding effect will last longer. Ballistic Slam also returns, where players can slam the ground after spinning in the air, creating a damaging explosion upon impact. Those melees will be joined by a brand new charge attack known as Thunderclap. Here, the Titan player holds the melee button, and charges up arc energy that can be unleashed either in a quick, powerful jab or held to be built up to unleash the furious one-punch man style blast that will devastate the opponent. This is why I have the whatever it's called helmet, the Daft Punk helmet that recharges your melee. The charge states cannot be stored, and the Titan must be on the ground to charge the punch. The damage is significant. A 90% charged Thunderclap will one-shot Guardians in PvP. But that reward will be balanced by the time it takes to build the charge up, and the fact that you must remain stationary to charge. Always a dangerous move in PvP. I'm curious to see how often that'll work in PvP, but I'm sure people better than me will figure it out. Like the other subclasses, Arc 3.0 Titans have 3 aspects to select from. Touch of Thunder improves arc grenades in the following ways. Oh, so Titans are getting grenade boosts, not Warlocks this time. Flashbang fires an additional blind impulse on its first bounce. Pulse, when the grenade damages an enemy, it creates an ionic trace for the Titan. Pulse grenade damage increases over time as the grenade lingers after impact. Lightning creates an additional charge for lightning grenade and jolts targets on initial blast. Storm creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks enemies, similar to Silence and Squall, firing lightning bolts at the ground underneath it. Well, that sounds fun. Juggernaut. Sprinting and with full class ability energy, the Titan gains a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When amplified, the shield is stronger. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class energy is depleted. So it's kind of a mobile Lorelei helmet where it gives you healing when you need it, sort of. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Sounds fun. Knockout. Knockout returns. Melee kills trigger health regen and make the Titan amplified. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shields increases melee range and damage for a brief period. Titan's base melee becomes arc powered when knockout is active. That will generate wells, so that's cool. To complement the class-specific aspects, Arc 3.0 will also introduce a new suite of fragments, which offer new perks to build on, as well as add bonuses or penalties to your Guardian's intrinsic stats. Here are a few of the fragments to come. There's usually, like 12 of these, so here's just a few. Spark of Beacons. When the player is amplified, Arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. Spark of Resistance. When surrounded by enemies, the player has increased damage resistance. Spark of Momentum. Sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant a small amount of melee energy. Sliding over heavy ammo increases the amount of energy granted. So that's kind of a modification of that thing that Titans had. Spark of Shock. The player's arc grenades jolt enemies. In all, the changes coming with Arc 3.0 will give Guardians more ways to bring the pain of enemies of humanity, while also letting players customize their Guardians to the way they want to play. Fans will have their first chance to see Arc 3.0 in action during next week's Destiny 2 showcase, which is coming on August 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific. Check out the showcase reveal page to learn more. Okay, well, that is a lot to go through, but it does sound very fun. I like the crank-inspired nature of being amplified, or whatever it's called. The new Hunter Super sounds amazing. I'm really glad they did that. I do not think they could have gotten away with not doing a second Super for Hunters, given the other ones. I am not surprised that the other Supers kind of remain unchanged. I am very curious about things like, beefed up Warlock melees or the Titan Grenade aspect. It does sound pretty cool. We also don't know, there's when they introduced Solar 3.0, we didn't know that Incandescent was a perk. So I have to believe that there are going to be some arc-based perks that will start dropping on weapons this season. So we won't really get a full sense of all the synergies and stuff until that happens. We don't know if all of the fragments will be unlocked initially. Probably not. They usually keep a few off until after the raid race for whatever reason, just in case, I guess. But this sounds very promising. The tight mobility thing, there's a lot here. So I'm pretty excited about this. Not unexpected, I suppose, but I mean, granted, Arc does need the most help, so this is going to have to be some pretty significant buffs in order to make people pick it over, Void and Solar 3.0 are really good now, so Arc is going to need to kind of stand out. I feel like Stasis is kind of falling behind now, but we're not getting a Stasis update next season, they already said, so yeah, we'll see how this goes. A lot of this is like, it's hard to read on paper, and you kind of want to see how it works in practice, and yet very, 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 very glad they did this up front. And even if it is not a 100% full breakdown of it, it is a substantial amount of information. I feel like I can start prepping at least some level of builds based on, info about these new abilities. And I really do enjoy knowing at least some level of what to expect here. So I think this was a great call. Very, appreciative of them not doing the whole Solar 3.0 secrecy thing again. So good job, Bungie. Anyway, that is my second video for today. I will probably just post the fashion one tomorrow instead of whatever. Or wait, is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday, so it's a twap. All right, I'll do the fashion video sometime. Maybe I'll do a 2-video day. But I haven't even edited it yet, so like I edit my videos, please. Anyway, thanks for bearing with me through this massive reveal, and I'll be talking more about it on Twitter. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.